What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Premier League Talk. It's weird game week this weekend. Sorry, it's been a while as well. Just been doing stuff, so I haven't really had time to film this. But yeah, what a weird weekend we had. Some really surprising results, some not so surprising, some we thought would happen. But yeah, I'm just going to read through them and then we'll pick out the main talking points. So we started on Saturday. Forest, upset of the weekend in my opinion. They beat Liverpool 1-0 at the City Ground, so you can kind of understand it. I mean, big atmosphere behind them. Liverpool haven't been doing great recently, although even though Liverpool have started to pick up on a run of form, like fair play to Nottingham Forest. It was an ex-Liverpool youngster who actually scored against them. Name is Awon Iyi. I hope I pronounced that right. But yeah, fair play to him. So Forest won 1-0. Everton then smashed Crystal Palace 3-0, which was at Goodison Park, so you can kind of understand it. Not as surprising. City obviously beat Brighton 3-1. And then Chelsea drew 1-1 with Man United in what was a seriously boring game. I mean, obviously there wasn't a goal until the 87th minute when there was a penalty. I don't know what McTominay was doing. But then it was a fair play, a good header by Casemiro to get Man United equal, so we have to give them credit. They drew 1-1, obviously. Move on to Sunday. Villa, out of nowhere, having literally just sacked Gerrard, smashed Brentford 4-0. Leeds lost 3-2 to Fulham. Southampton held Arsenal to a 1-1 draw. Wolves beat Leicester 4-0. Sorry, Leicester beat Wolves 4-0 to get out of the relegation zone. How? And then it finished with Newcastle beating Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Just wow. And then Monday night, West Ham beat Bournemouth, which was kind of expected, especially at West Ham. But anyway, there are three things I want to talk about this week: is Spurs Newcastle, one; Villa Brentford, the other; and Chelsea versus Man United. We'll start with Chelsea versus Man United. Both teams, I think, are in trouble this year. I really can't lie. The game was just so boring to watch as a fan. I mean, nothing happened. United dominated the first half, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, if they had a Ronaldo in this game instead of leaving him back in Manchester, they could have been 3-0 up by half time. Some of the chances they had, Rashford went through like twice, and you're thinking to yourself, how are you not finishing those chances? Like, it was a joke. I mean, fair play to Chelsea, they held out pretty well for the first half. But then the second half, it was just dull. Like, nothing really happened the whole second half until McTominay flipping rugby tackled. I don't know who it was in the box, but decided that he was playing rugby instead. Chelsea get a penalty. Jorginho obviously scores as comfortable as he usually would. And yeah, you think Chelsea are going to nick it here, nick 3 points, build a further gap between themselves and Man United. But no, Casemiro turns up in injury time and bangs in a header, which was nearly saved by Kepa, but it is what it is. But yeah, no, I'm saying both teams are in trouble this year because it was just really boring to watch. And both of their styles of football just don't reflect the quality that they have. I think Graham Potter is a good... I'm going to give Graham Potter like more benefit of the doubt because obviously it's a step up for him. He's gone from Brighton to Chelsea, which obviously Brighton are a good team, but we have to be real, they're not on the same level as Chelsea. And to be fair, you could still say that he's probably learning the ropes, which you could say for Ten Hag, but I'm not going to. But Chelsea, they just don't seem to be playing like a very attractive brand of football. And again, obviously I'm saying they're in the top four battle, but it raises questions over whether they will actually get top four and also how far they can go in the Champions League. Obviously, they just smashed AC Milan in both games. They beat Salzburg on Tuesday night, which is, 2 nights ago now. So they are through. But it questions how far they can go in that and also how sustainable their top four challenge might be. Yeah, Man United, though. Ten Hag, I would give him the same excuse though he's still learning the ropes, but I'm not going to because fundamentally, in my opinion, he has a better squad, and he's choosing not to utilise certain members of that squad, which we don't need to go into because we did, and it's costing him. I think Rashford up front, yes, he's had a good season so far, and don't get me wrong, he's played really well, but he's not on the level of Ronaldo. And with some of the chances that they created, you have a Ronaldo up front, and that's 3-4 goals straight away in the first half. Like, that would have been game over. So Man United, I think, are in serious trouble as well, and I don't think they're going to get Champions League. I think they are fighting for Europa League. No, they're fighting for Champions League, but I don't think they'll get it. Fundamentally, that's just a problem. We move on. So both those teams are in trouble, I think. Top four challenge is questionable. We move on. Villa Brentford. Gerrard obviously resigned midweek after they lost 3-0 to Fulham at home. Out of nowhere, they come and smash in 4 goals against Villa within 60 minutes. Against Brentford within 60 minutes. Danny Ings with 2, Leon Bailey with 1, and Ollie Watkins with 1. Now, Villa, they've had a tough season so far. They really have. They currently sit. I don't know where they are on the table. Sorry, let me just get it up. They currently sit 15th in the table on 12 points. They've only won 3 games this year. They've lost 6. So you can tell it's been a really tough start to the season for them. And obviously it wasn't working for Gerrard at all, as we see, because he resigned. And obviously they got battered 3-0 by Fulham, which caused them to resign. Yeah, not working. But maybe this could be the turning point. Obviously, Unai Emery is taking over, ex-Arsenal manager. We all know how that went for him. First season, he actually did all right. Second season, it started to fall apart. But we'll see how he can do. I think Villa actually have a very decent team. I think with a manager that knows sort of more how to handle big egos and better players, maybe they can push for a top 10 finish. I'm not saying that they're going to get top 10, and Europe is certainly out of the question. I thought they could fight for Europe before the season, but now it's certainly out of the question. But yeah, I think they can push for a top 10 finish, and hopefully Unai Emery can get that out of the squad. But fair play to them, you have to say, to lose your manager midweek and then to come out and put 4 goals past a very decent Brentford team, it's something else. So we have to give them credit, and fair enough to them. Moving on, Spurs Newcastle. Now Newcastle, they really are starting to upset the top 6 this year. They are now in the top 4, having beaten Spurs. They lost in the most cruel ways at Anfield in the final minute. Again, Fabio Carvalho scores a winner. They went 2-0 up against Man City at the Etihad, and then Haaland decided to turn it on. And yeah, they've done really well this season. And obviously, you can talk about the takeover may have helped them, and they've spent more money and things like that. But you have to say that they fundamentally are a very good team without the money. Bruno Guimaraes, he's been incredible this season. Eddie Howe's really getting the best out of him. Signings like Sven Botman, Nick Pope have been really helpful to where they are. Alexander Isak, I know, isn't playing much, but he's doing bits. You think even players that in the past have been really bad, things like Joe Linton, have turned it on, and you have to say fair play to them. And yeah, it raises questions about, could they actually finish in the Champions League places? You never know. I mean, as I said, Chelsea and Man United, I think, are in real trouble this season. Liverpool, yes, they're pushing for that 4th spot. I actually think now that you could have a battle between Liverpool and Newcastle for the 4th place, because I think Spurs, Arsenal and City are nailed on at this point, unless there's something catastrophic happens after the World Cup. I think those 3 are certified to finish in the top 4, in my opinion. But Newcastle, seriously, I think, as well as this, we think about it, we've got the January transfer window coming up. Newcastle are the richest club in the world. They can bring in whatever backup they need, get that squad depth, and they can really sustain a challenge. And it's the first time in about 20, 25 years you can actually say that Newcastle are actually fighting for something with the big boys. And, just fair play to them. But seriously, I think them and Liverpool might be locked in a battle for that 4th place. We don't know, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Almiron seems to be playing incredibly at the moment. Callum Wilson, he's banging the goals. There's no reason why they can't. They'll definitely get Europe this season. That's what I think. It won't be Conference League. I reckon they'll get Europa League. It might be Man United who drop into the Conference League. But we'll have to see. But yeah, Newcastle, can they finish in the top 4? I think they can. I think it's possible they can. What do you guys think? Yeah. Quickly, I just want to talk about Southampton Arsenal as well. Obviously, we saw Arsenal miss the chance to go 4 points clear. The first half, watching the game was infuriating, because you saw us dominate the first half with the chances we created. If you think, if we put away two more of those chances. That's 3-0 up by half time. Game dead and buried. Second half, we let Southampton come back onto us, and you can sort of see where the tiredness starts to creep in. Obviously, the schedule is incredibly hectic now with the run up to the World Cup, because you've got Carabao Cup coming up, Premier League games, Europa League, Champions League, and this is for all the big six sides who finished in the top seven last season, who play European football. Everyone tried to squeeze everything in before Qatar. Teams, if you're not Man City, you physically don't have the squad depth to not get tired. So we saw that, I think, in the second half. Players just looked really tired, really leggy, and it was really tough, to be honest. But fair play to Southampton. Stuart Armstrong got them level. And then at the end of the game, they probably could have won it. They missed a few chances, but Arsenal held out, and that's a point. So we're now 2 points clear of City at the top, which is worrying because, and we now don't have that luxury of having a gap and being able to fall back on a 4-point gap and still be top by 1 point if we lose and City won. So we really have to pick it up. We obviously play Forest at home this weekend. Confident we can get a result, but having said that, they just beat Liverpool 1-0, so you never know. But yeah, that has been this game week for us. Coming up, obviously, we are on to game week 14. That's game week 13. So I will see you guys on Monday for the next episode of Premier League Talk. Thanks for watching.